Joining us from Amman in Jordan is Xavier Abu Eid, the political scientist, a former Palestinian diplomat. Thanks so much for your time, Xavier. Mostly when we talk to you, you're often in Ramallah. The occupied West Bank is kind of an addition to the peace deal that Donald Trump is offering. He says he's telling the Israelis not to annex the West Bank. Why would any Palestinian in the occupied West Bank trust either of those two leaders?
Thank you, Adnan. And I think the premise of your question is right on point, because it's not just like Israel has been violating systematically all the offers for a ceasefire previously presented over the past 2 years of genocide, but Israel has violated their own obligations under the peace process that started back in the early 90s. And that includes, of course, the withdrawal of Israeli forces, and that the situation now in the occupied West Bank 30 years later would not be as Zaina was presenting in her very well-known report, with more than 800 movement restrictions. So eventually, the policy that we face from the Israeli occupation in the West Bank has not changed since 1967, which is to change as much as land as possible and as few Palestinians as possible.
Xavier, do you agree with a Hamas source who says that actually Benjamin Netanyahu, through Donald Trump's peace proposal, is going to achieve everything his military couldn't do?
I would say that this initiative by President Donald Trump secures only one thing, that within 72 hours, all Israeli captives in Gaza are going to be with their relatives, and nothing else. It doesn't present absolutely any sort of assurances for the implementation of any other part. It uses very vague narrative. In fact, some people believe that, or have been claiming that this initiative could take us closer to a Palestinian state. I think it's the other way around. You know, when the world is recognizing the state of Palestine, this initiative is conditioning the prospects of a Palestinian state on what a group of foreigners heavily linked to the Israeli occupation, including Tony Blair, who has a very dark past here in this region, would end up doing. So eventually, the plan that Trump is presenting, which seems it's different after the meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu than the plan he presented to a group of Arab and Muslim leaders, is not going to set the basis for a Palestinian state, but for a perpetuation of the Israeli occupation.
What can you tell us about the other armed groups in Gaza that Hamas has to consult with as well? Is there a possibility that Hamas, if it were to accept, might be going against the grain of those other armed groups? Is that a danger?
I would say that if Hamas wants to accept, and here I think we have to be very clear, there are very few options left for Hamas. There is a lot of pressure on them locally and regionally. I don't think that other groups will have much chance to continue. Hamas is the one that has been in control of Gaza, de facto control, since the summer of 2007. And so far, other groups, I don't think that they would be able to last if it's not in coordination with Hamas. So eventually, even if the Islamic Jihad has already, according to what I know, go against this initiative, I think what's relevant for its implementation is what Hamas is going to say.
Xavier Abu Eid, we always appreciate the analysis. Thank you, Xavier.
Thank you, Abdul.